So Amanda, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your involvement with AABA?
Okay. Right, Luan, I have been a lawyer in Arizona practicing since 2004, and my career started down in Tucson. And that is how I discovered the Arizona Asian American Bar Association, being associate down in Tucson. Most of the attorneys are in the Phoenix area, and somebody said, "You have to join the Asian Bar." I said, "What? The Asian Bar? Where are they?" They're mostly they have an annual banquet up in Phoenix, but it's worth going. And I said, "Okay, well, I don't know what I'm getting myself into it, but I'll do it." So I started back in probably about 2004, 2006. And then when I moved up eventually to the Phoenix area to continue practicing, I've always been in litigation. I've been on the bench for a couple years. I was I joined the board in 2011, and I became president of the Asian Bar in 2016. And now I am one of the liaisons for the Arizona Collaborative Bar, which was started around the same time frame of when I was president, and it's been going on for 10 years. So I'm still the liaison for the Arizona Asian American Bar Association.
Perfect. So you mentioned the position that you currently hold. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the position that you've held in the past within AABA and what other roles have you had with AABA?
Okay. Well, the most important one is being president. It's no easy feat being a volunteer president of an organization and all those copious amounts of free time when you have to do a lot of billable hours per month, dedicating it to diversity inclusion in this Arizona legal practice is a tough one. So, president, I've been secretary. Really, the president is probably the big one in the Asian bar. But more important is you are a role model and you are a liaison to the community. And that I've maintained being an ex officio amongst my friends who are also ex officios of the Asian bar. But the most important thing I think I have now is they call me the Asian bar, the ABA historian, because I had a long reign as being on the board of directors. I am no longer on the board, but as I said, I'm still a acting liaison for the Asian bar, so I have close contact with the board, with those who make decisions in the organization.
Perfect. Could you talk a bit about some of the highlights of AABA? For example, big accomplishments, events, litigations.
Okay, there are many, but the easiest one to say is annually we have a fundraiser banquet. It is the funds are raised are used to go towards law student scholarships, and it's held once a year. And at that time, we transition in leadership, so it's a little different. We usually hold it in the spring. It's usually around March, April timeframe. We have also been the host of two national conventions. We are the affiliate of NAPABA, the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association, of which there are over 2,000 members that are Asian. They consist of lawyers and judges and law students. Um, so the first convention that we held was in 2001, and that was right after 9/11, by the way. That it was a memorable time for everyone. It was around November of 2001, and the other time we did it was in 2014. And at any time when the convention is held, you had, I think we were over 2,000 members now, but probably in 2001 it was about 1,500. So it's all of a sudden there was a lot of Asian lawyers in Phoenix.
Speaking of which, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about the demographics of ABBA, the membership, whether they're law students, number of them. You mentioned about 2,000. I was wondering about their ages, genders, and whether they're new attorneys, law students. What does that look like?
So my predecessor, and Nicole Collier, Nicole On Collier, she made it a goal for herself. So this would be 2015 that we have a membership of 100. So we do. We've always reached. We're over 100 now, and it's judges, lawyers, and law students combined. So we are small but mighty. We don't have that many in number, but what's more important is that we have a large impact.
Now, next, I wanted to ask about some of the challenges that ABBA has faced.
Hmm. Current or
Current or the past?
okay? Yep. Here is one that is just an ongoing one. So when the other attorneys are interested in identifying somebody that's in the Asian bar, they're looking for someone that might do criminal law, that is in Coconino, that speaks Vietnamese, you know, something like that. And I said, when you find that person, you let me know. So there is a language identity that is an assumption that we all speak multiple languages in all the various kinds of law that somebody would need legal help. Um, that is hard when we have a membership of roughly 100. Okay, so what is a unifying thing with our organization is we have some cultural identities that all of us have grown up with, and there are some stigmas that we need to overcome. There are certain assumptions that are made about Asians that are lawyers or judges or law students that aren't necessarily true. And it isn't until you get to know the individual that you can stand out. We are so few, so big goal of the Asian bar is to highlight those that are in our state and let others know what they do professionally without necessarily having an assumption. So we do have many lawyers that speak multiple languages, but in a perfect world, we would have all those little niches for every that ability. But what we do have a commonality is probably in a culture where we grew up and have had to deal with certain um, assumptions that are made about us without anyone knowing anything about us.
Mhm. So, in terms of the challenges, how does ABBA work to address those challenges? This, the example you gave might be a bit hard because there is only so many people, but for other challenges, how does ABBA work to address those challenges that Asian lawyers face?
Well, we try to let the community know about the individual members. So there's been some there's uh, when somebody has been appointed to join the bench, when a person a lawyer becomes a partner, when something positive happens, we will celebrate and explain that this is an individual and these are the accomplishments made by that individual who just happens to be Asian. And it helps. It really helps to not make the group. Um, it makes the group more. We're individuals. So highlighting the individual helps the group.
So, what would you like the greater Arizona legal community to know about ABBA that you think it's not known commonly?
Hmm. Well, okay. So to the non-lawyers, we are not a law firm. However, if people reach out to us, we will help find a appropriate referral for them. We do try to help. So in that sense, we'll try to do it. But we are not a law firm that helps Asian people. So that is a common. Um, it's a common thought that's made from people who are non-lawyers. And then for the lawyers, hmm, just because you are of Asian descent, it doesn't mean that you're automatically a member. And anybody can join the Asian bar as long as you care about highlighting and elevating the Asian Pacific American lawyers in the community. We have many members that are not Asian but support our mission. And in fact, it's we are a lot. We couldn't be as impactful if we were just Asian lawyers and judges and students that were members. We do have a membership that is much larger than the ethnic ties.
I think that's great, and I think the scholarship that is given through the banquet, I think that also is not limited to the Asian bar. Would you like to talk about that?
That is true. So we usually have our banquet in the spring, and so around January is about the deadline. So in the fall, the applications are currently out for 2025 to be awarded to law students. And we do not look at um, whether you were a member of the Asian bar and what race you happen to be. It's not, you don't have to be Asian to apply. You have to care about elevating the Asian community, or Asian doing something with the Asian legal community, or something in the community to elevate diversity and inclusion. So as long as you have the similar goals as the Arizona Asian American Bar Association, that qualifies as being a good applicant for the law student scholarship. So I think you're right. That is a common assumption that someone might not want to apply for the scholarship because they're not Asian. Um, that's not true. If they have helped and support, for example, law students of any law students who's interested in volunteering and helping at our annual banquet, they if they do so, that is part of supporting us. That qualifies, and we do our best to make sure they all get a seat at the and get to enjoy the banquet as well. Um, no promises, but we've always been able to find sponsors who are able to uh, make sure that law students don't leave hungry.
Thank you so much. I think that that's all the questions that I have.
Thank you, Luan. Thank you for caring.
And my question, one of the questions I was going to ask, is on my phone, but it was, what was like one of the most challenging things, since you're one of the founding members, about starting this? Because, it wasn't there before, and I know that Marian spoke a little bit about how it was in the beginning. We didn't have like listserv and social media and things. Like, what was challenging to put this? What was the most challenging thing? Most challenging experience you had while putting this together?
Yeah. The biggest challenge, because I was 20 years, is that the people who were starting, who were the founders, like Mary and Yim, no one knew that they were founders. No one immortalized what they were doing. So there are no photos. They were just five people eating lunch at China Dog. I don't remember the name of the restaurant because I wasn't there. Yeah, but that's how it started. It was just, are you Asian? Come on, let's meet for lunch. And it was just a lunch. And then that's how the idea, I mean, that's how things started. Um, and it really didn't start until Judge Thomas Tang was a federally appointed judge. And he started seeing what other states, other groups were doing. And he was introduced to Napaba and said, we need to bring that to Arizona. And then it was great because Judge Tang was down in Tucson. So there was initially, when he was practicing, he was a Tucson lawyer. Tucson judge. So there was more of a mix within the entire state of Arizona than ever before. I mean, it's a struggle to keep the big cities, Tucson and Phoenix, connected. It is constant struggle. But initially, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for a Tucson judge. And then, I mean, it's aspirational to get the other counties.
And we couldn't determine whether the family picnic was first before, because according to Marian, she said, well, we didn't have all this, social media and listserv, so we just had a meeting as family. So what was the first type of formal organization? Was it a family meeting, or was it just family picnic that happens once a year, or was it the annual banquet? We couldn't. I'm sure we couldn't put that well together, and we're not sure. And she thinks it's a
I'm pretty
family
sure it's
picnic.
big. Okay. Well, I wasn't there.
Okay.
So another thing, one of the hard parts is we are a young organization. We were started in 1994. There are other groups that are on their 50th, 60th anniversary. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. So the good thing is, a lot of the people who are founders are still living, and it's been hard to kind of dig back. When somebody retires, they're hard to find. I don't necessarily know their personal email if they were retired from the bench. So it is who you know to try to dig in and find those old folks. And then those that were active, they might have gone and done something else. So it's a really small percentage of individuals. We took it from a larger group. So say the large group is 5, right? But say 2 or 3 people chose not to be practicing law anymore. They just wanted to manage rental properties or whatever. Whatever. It takes it. You need a large number to get a working number of active people willing to make something happen. So that's why membership is important, because some folks, they love it, they love the organization, but they really need to just spend time with their family. And maybe in a different part of their life, they will have the time to be more active. And we have to be able to account for everyone's personal where they are in their personal life. But they're all important, everyone. I mean, we want to give an example of somebody who's balanced, who has ability to have children, who's able to retire and enjoy life. They don't necessarily have to continue working to the day they die. But most of our judges are still practicing. They haven't necessarily. They're just starting to retire right now, like within the last 2 or 3 years.
How has the Asian bar evolved since its inception, and how did you imagine it would be today? Like, if you look back at it, how has it evolved? Is it much bigger? Is it more? How has it evolved in your own way? Like, how would you describe that?
Uh, we have more um, diverse Asian ethnicities. So the so in 2016, because I was president, I started at an Asian bar. I was 20 years old. I started the Asian bar, the AABA Hall of Fame, and it was those who were important to the history of AABA. And surprise, surprise, the first 4 honorees. In fact, I mean, we're going to continue onward. The founding members, those who are honored as honorees, they are all Chinese. But that is part of Arizona history. The first Asians in Arizona were Chinese Americans. Now, you cannot say that anymore. It is diverse. I think we'll be changing that landscape very quickly. So, seeing all the different Asian communities here in Arizona is wonderful. But when we honor from the historians way back then, they were all Chinese at that time. But that I am pretty sure that will not be lasting in the next decade. It's wonderful to see the Asian community grow.
So now you have more of a mix of Chinese, Koreans, Japanese.
Yes,
Indians.
Thai, yeah, all yes.
Okay, perfect.
And we include South Asians.
And South Asians.
Okay. Asian bar includes South Asians. There's a South Asian Bar Association, but we incorporate them. Not the organization, but those who are South Asian. We say Asian Bar believes they're Asian.
The other thing that we found out doing the research was that Asian bar is color blind. And for example, one of the recipient of the scholarship, Maria Logan, she's not Asian. So if you, I mean, you just spoke about diversity. If you speak more a little bit about, how the Asian bar is very inclusive. Like I mentioned before, I didn't even know that. I thought I have to be Asian, for example, to join. But you have what you look for in people in terms of what you need. And Maria Logan is a good example of receiving the scholarship.
Yes.
And by receiving the scholarship, she's not Asian. So if you could tell us more about the diversity, how it's more inclusive in how this happened, that would be great to know for other people who might want to find out.
Yes. So our annual scholarship, in order to apply, the law students need to care about the Asian community. But it's not required that you be a member of the Asian bar or to be of Asian descent. You just have to care and want to rise and elevate the lawyers and students and judges in the Asian community. And part of that is any work that's done on diversity and inclusion. it is so when as you grow as an organization, you don't really know what the future predicts, but you create certain markers. Um, I had mentioned in another question that we had a marker of trying to get 100 members, and we had reached that goal. There was a time where we still do, we want more of our members, we want more diversity on the bench. Uh, there was a study done by the state bar. They had this poll, and you have to voluntarily identify yourself. So uh, it is not exacting because it's not required, but when you pay, it's a mandatory bar in Arizona. You have to pay mandatory dues to the State Bar of Arizona. And there's a question saying, will you please share your ethnic background? So it's a voluntary thing. And it was shared to us that, oh, well, roughly 2% of all lawyers are Asian. And that is about what you've got as judges. You have roughly about 1.5 to 2, like under 3% of all of the judicial officers in Arizona are Asian, and so you meet that number of the legal community, and I recall hearing that, and I remember collectively as the group we're like, well, that's not enough. I mean, we're not satisfied. That doesn't mean we sit back on our chair and just kick up our feet and say we're done. No, you find another goal to keep moving forward because it is still important to have diversity and inclusion. And so that is why, I mean, it's not why, but it just is with the Asian bar. We look at those who want to include us in the room or people like us who have same mindsets to want that type of diversity of thought or diversity of practice, diversity in general to be in the decision processes.
I know Marian also mentioned. Okay, let's talk about actually. I hope we can cut it. Let's talk.
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about the Corbat today and how come and it's not as popular as I think I thought it would be. I know that Judge Gass was one of
Mm-hmm.
the people who actually helped put it together, but it's January 30th. I wrote down in the previous note,
January
but
30th.
January 30th every year. Is there a way to make it maybe more known or more popular or more because I feel like a lot of people in the Asian community don't even know that this day actually exists.
Yes. Okay. So um, this thought occurred around 2017. I know this because I was president in 2016, and my successor, Eileen Sullivan, she organized a banquet in 2017, and the guest speaker for our annual banquet was Karen Korematsu of the Fred T. Korematsu Institute, and she wanted to honor her father, who was a civil rights activist. He was a young man who was ordered to go to an internment camp, but he refused to go. And so he was put in prison instead um, for not going to an internment camp. He said he didn't do anything wrong. So she was very moving as a speaker. And one of the key people who wanted to bring that story to Arizona was Judge David Goss, and who was attending the banquet. And he, along with members of the JACL, Japanese American Citizens League, and the Arizona Asian American Bar Association, through many years, lobbied this Arizona State Legislature to recognize Korematsu Day, which is January 30th, which is Fred T. Korematsu's birthday. And after a couple of years of doing this, we finally were able to get a proclamation in perpetuity. We would have to do it for every day. So every year we did it twice, and it was a certain day in a year, and then we got it in perpetuity. So we honored it a few years, and then things died down. And part of that is the change in leadership. Every president comes and goes after a year, even though they remain active in the organization. It takes a lot of legwork to try to keep things going, but I think the legwork hasn't been lost. We just need to figure out how to get it done. We have a new leadership. There's a new governor. This was done in Governor Doug Ducey's time. Now it's Governor Hobbs. A lot of it is just trying to dig back because we all are volunteer lawyers. We do this on our. We thought we were done. I mean, it's just the job is never done. But the goal is so that the children are educated in Arizona. It is part of their curriculum that they know about the internment camp history. It is surprising how many people here in Arizona do not know that there were three or so internment camps here in Arizona. And so it's just to raise that awareness. So it is true. It's been alerted that it's been silent. So we'll now have to find the energy, the extra energy, to see if we can bring back and highlight the Korematsu Day because it is very important.
So on a typical Korematsu Day, is it like educational day? Like since you had two, what happened in like when you had those events?
Oh yeah. When it was in perpetuity, Karen Korematsu and her brother came down. They are based in San Francisco. At least Karen is. I don't know about the brother. And they flew down to help celebrate Arizona's Korematsu Day. And we had a gathering at the Japanese tea house that's in Phoenix. It was very nice, and it was post-COVID, so it was outdoors, and everyone was socially distancing. So part of it is the time that everything occurred too. But it was a nice event, but it's just hard to do that every year when there's so much else to do. So what we need is a champion to keep reminding us.
So the challenge is that we have volunteer lawyers and we don't have enough people to actually, um, you know, um, take that. Let's say, for example, January 30th next year, we wanted to host this Korematsu Day. What would need to happen?
Honestly, we would need somebody to volunteer to be a lobbyist.
Okay, so we have to lobby the government. Okay, so we have to lobby
no,
the government again.
We just have to figure out what happened.
Okay.
Because it's not part of the. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an educator, so we just have to see what's occurring in the public school system. If Korematsu Day and the internment camp history is being taught to Arizona students, then we have met our goal.
So is it okay if I were to phrase it as education day and then just have like the January 30th, then put Korematsu Day? How would you like for me to like?
It's Korematsu. It's Korematsu Day.
It's just Korematsu.
Yeah, it's Fred T. Korematsu
Day.
I will find out. I have to look at the proclamation.
Proclamation, okay.
Yeah, it's easier to just say Korematsu Day, but it's called Fred T. Korematsu Day.
And the goal is to educate the Asians about
about the Japanese internment camp history.
Perfect. Okay, so okay. So I know that Luan asked you a couple of questions earlier. Are there any you wanted to maybe elaborate a bit on? Because it was very like straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal was to come in here and make sure that we elaborate a little bit more on those questions. I still have them in front of me. If you wanted me to, go over them or ask you those questions,
okay,
you can. Yeah. And also, I know that okay. I know that Marian had talked about collaboration with other bars. In particular, talked about how the Black Bar, the founder, actually had also collaborated with you guys in the beginning. Could you speak a little bit more? This is a collaborative bar.
Yeah, the Arizona. Yeah.
How these two bars have actually collaborated, and how at least one has helped the other out, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So. I'm not going to take credit for this idea. This idea was done by the national organizations.
Okay.
And the American Bar Association kind of coordinated. They provided the manpower to do registration and all that. So our national affiliate is NAPABA, NAPABA, and then there's a National Bar Association, which is the equivalent of the Arizona Black Bar, but national. Um, there is a HNBA, Hispanic National Bar Association. There's a Native American Bar Association. So their charter year was around 2016 of when they got together and had a summer program and they called it the Collaborative Bar. So all of us separately registered and attended and met in Minneapolis. And when we walked there, who did we know? Like, oh, there was more Arizonians than just us. It was really a surprise. So that was lovely. So that was in the summertime. And then just before in the spring, I had the annual banquet where we had roughly over 300 attendees. We just filled. Now we have about nearly 400, but we're still capped by the size of a restaurant. So so roughly around 400 attendees. And I remember it's like, oh, I wish we could do this a little more often because that would be the time when you met the president of this and things like that. So how do we keep this relationship going on? And so afterwards, after that collaborative bar, those who attended, we got together and said, let's do this here in Arizona. And we started the Arizona Collaborative Bar. So it is 2025, and now this is our 10th year of being the Arizona Collaborative Bar. We have 11 member organizations. So the members are organizations, and we meet 4 times a year. But most importantly, we have an access to the pipeline of communication to the leadership amongst the 11 of us. And we share information with one another. So in terms of collaborating, the larger organizations help out the smaller ones. Some organizations do not ask their members for dues, and they don't have a bank account that's easy to go back and forth. Others are just trying to figure things out. Like we'll say, hey, we raised money this year. I think we need an accountant. So who do you use? Things like that. So there's some really basic things. There was one time that I thought was very impactful. It was when there were protests at the airport, and with the Iran, it was Trump in his first 4 years, and there were some protests at the airport, and very quickly, and then the Iranian American Bar Association is one of our members, and they are a small organization, and they sent out the information to the rest of us very quickly about what was going on, and we were able to disseminate information very quickly. So that to me would be one good use of our email list and what we could do.
So there's an email list for all 11 members of the
Yes.
Okay. And then you guys just
So we have liaisons, and then the liaisons could be the presidents, but they could also just be members. So I am an Asian Bar member that was asked to be the liaison I'm not on the current board of directors, but I have a quick pathway because I'm the liaison to the leadership. So if somebody wants to ask the Asian Bar something and all they know is my name, I will make sure that the Asian Bar knows about it. And other groups have different leadership styles. So we meet once a year in person, annually, usually around in September, and then it's a commitment that we will maintain a connection with each other the following year, and we meet 4 times a year. And in those 4 times a year, we collaborate on different events. It could be CLEs, continuing legal education classes, or social events, and either that or we'll invite all the other members so everyone's treated the same once in a while to keep the relationship going. So our members, the members within the organizations also get value. So the goal is that you don't have to join 11 organizations and basically you need a second job in order to support. You just are a member of one that is a member of the 11. Yeah, yeah. It's not an independent organization. We're more like a friendship.
Amanda said one thing that I kind of wrote down, but I didn't know how to address it because at the end I told her, I said, "What would you like? What is the one? If you had to say one thing, one thing, what would that be?" And I didn't know how to say it, but eventually she said, the Asians don't like they like merits achievement as opposed to feeling like I someone helped me out or someone got me there. It's more so by merit I can get there on my own. So sometimes most people don't join. So my question to you then is, let's say I was going out to ASU or to a school or to a podium to say, okay, this is why I think the Asian Bar is really amazing. Apart from the fact that they're colorblind, they give out all the scholarship, they have 11-member organization, and they've done really amazing things. They have education day and so on and so forth. You know, in the power, she talked about something that was called the power of one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to ask you about that. I don't even have enough time to ask about the power of one, but what would you say? Do you feel like it's more helpful to be in this particular group where you see other people that are like you and may share ideas and may get your ideas moving fast, which is what she mentioned about the Asian bar. And for those that believe in just merit, I'm going to do it by myself, how can you address that differently than she did?
Okay, well, this is going to date me, but I believe the Asian bar, in a way, as well as a lot of the other members of the Cloud Bar, we're trying to get over that feeling of imposter syndrome. A lot of first-time lawyers out there, first-time judges, first-time nonprofit, first-time general counsel. This is their first time, and can they do it? And the answer is yes. Yes, everyone's had a first time. You can do it. We will support you in doing it. And do it so that other people don't feel the same way. And please share that you're doing it. Let us honor you. Even though you are embarrassed about having an event in your honor, let us honor you so that others can look to you for help, assistance, just as a role model, so they don't feel the imposter syndrome either. That is a very 2010s identity. Okay.
It's so relatable. I really like it.
And when the power of one, I've added to that. I don't think it's power of one. I think it's power of three.
Power of three. Okay.
So um, it's still heartbreaking. In February, a couple years ago, we lost a judge. She was very impactful. Her name is Rosa Mraz, and she was the first Chinese American female to be appointed to the Maricopa County Superior Court bench. It could have been in the whole state of Arizona. She was very important person, very kind, and everything that you would want in a judicial officer. And her life was shortened a couple years ago. She got hit by a car. She, just by being herself, we didn't realize this, but a lot of organizations just assumed that because she was a member of the Asian Bar, that we were represented. Or our voice was going to be in the room. And it's not true. We need more than one. What if somebody gets hit by a car? And for the Hall of Fame, by the way, Rosa Mraz is in the Hall of Fame, and I still remember this because she wasn't sure even though she was ready to retire, she wasn't sure she wanted to retire yet. So I said, okay, we will honor you next year. And you know what? She didn't make it next year. Her husband stood in her stead and accepted the award. So what did I learn? We need more than one, and you can't wait. You got to honor them now, not later. So.
anything we haven't asked you and you feel like, okay, you can research entire planet Earth, but this one thing that maybe is not out there. You know, I have floppy disks I can't open. So is there anything
So,
else?
these are good problems to have. There is an award that I didn't discuss. It's very important to the Asian bar. I didn't know this until I was president, and somebody asked me, Amanda, where's the book? I said, what are you talking about? What's the book? And the book is Michelle Silverstein, The Giving Tree. It was given to Judge Thomas Tang, who's the founder of the Asian Bar, when he was the State Bar president. He passed away. He is the founder of the Asian Bar, of Arizona Asian American Bar Association, or AABA, but he didn't, he passed away very quickly. So he had only been leading it for maybe 1 or 2 years before he died. And so his wife, Dr. Pearl Tang, gifted the Asian Bar with the book that was given to him by the State Bar. And the idea of the Giving Tree is that this is the act of service that you give either when you volunteer at the State Bar, or in this case, Asian Bar, we said when you were a judicial officer. Judicial officers are like the Giving Tree. So we pass it down to judicial officers that are of Asian descent. So this one, you do need to be ethnic to highlight and raise and highlight that we have we have lawyers, we have judges that are Asian. We have Asian judges, and so we call it the book. And so it's passed down to the most recent, to the next appointed judicial officer. It's a judicial officer award. That's why I didn't know about it. So the current one, the one who last received it, it's their job to hold the book until they pass it onward. And everyone hopes that they don't have to hold on to it for too long.
So now it actually makes sense now because I get it. So this book was given by Judge Tang's wife to the Asian Bar, and then give it to as a judicial, and it continues to pass down. Is the goal to pass it down in perpetuity?
Yes.
Okay.
So what happens is Dr. Pearl Tang, his widow, has now passed away. And so now it's the current president that will be signing the book that is the personal copy for the person who received the award. But the original book, the one that was given to us by Dr. Pearl Tang, to Judge Thomas Tang's book, that one is held with every judicial officer that is Asian, that is appointed here on the bench in Arizona.
One final thing I didn't ask: the family picnic.
Oh, so the family picnic, we renamed it, and now it's called the Rosa Mraz Fall Family Picnic, and that was done to honor, right? So what's happening is she passed away in February, but you know what? Do you honor someone on the day they pass away? No. So the reason why the Fall Family Picnic is in her honor is because Rosa Mraz has been the host of this picnic. She would open her home to AABA members once a year, and she was never the president, but she was a longtime treasurer, and for many reasons, she's instrumental into why we have a scholarship fund.
And why do you say so?
Because she was an accountant that figured out the math.
This is instrumental. Why? Okay.
We had to fundraise. You have to fundraise a certain amount of money in order for the scholarship to be funded, so that we knew that there would be a certain amount of funds that we could give out every year, and we weren't relying just on our ability to raise money the year past. And that is a completely different story, and that would take up all day. All right. So two things. Luan asked me, is there anything else you want to share? And Lilia, you asked me, Miriam thought that the picnic occurred before the banquet. And I believe Miriam's probably right. Okay. Because attorneys would come to me that had been practicing for many years and would say, Amanda, this is a great banquet, but I remember casino night. Okay, so casino night is important. So there were two signature casino nights that I recall, and the fundraising from those casino nights is what funded the scholarship banquet. Yeah, attorneys like to gamble.
And where was this held?
What?
Where was the casino night held?
I don't know. It was probably. That's a good question.
Is it possible to bring it back?
You know who would know? Well, if you want to bring it in, so George Chen. George Chen is probably a good person. So what happens is, so George Chen is a partner. So, okay, so it used to be a really big deal when an Asian lawyer became a partner. It still is, but we have luckily the good problem. We have so many that are partners now. So one of the first that became partners is George Chen, and he was also president of NAPABA, but he was a law student and a member and active in the Asian Bar at the time. And so with the energy of a law student, he was very key in making not only the 2001 convention a success for NAPABA, but also for helping run Casino Night. So he was the law student recipient kind of person. He was the law student energy that we all need in order to make these fun things more fun.
One thing to say, like this is, just imagine 20 years from now, they open up and they see one of these founding members, and you had one thing to say to someone who just came from South Korea or China or wherever, Japan, and you want to say something about this amazing organization and what it does, the collaborative nature of it, in addressing imposter syndrome, the scholarship. If you just had one message to give, and if this was the final message you ever had to give, what would it be? That's all I want to know.
Okay. All right. So I was asked if somebody was new to Arizona, what would I say to them? And I would say to join the Asian Bar. But not just join it. Don't just pay the dues. Come and show up and then get involved. The best way to network and remember people is by doing something together. And it's all right if you go to a small event that has 10 people or go to a large event that has 50 or 100. If you meet 3 individuals that you find impactful, follow up with them, and that increases your network. And this is how the Asian Bar works. We will have fun events once in a while, but it only works if people show up. And it only works if you connect afterwards.
No, imposter syndrome and first timer. Like,
no.
The question earlier was that Asians sometimes don't show up because they believe in the merit system. I don't need to do all this.
Yes.
But we started this to collaborate with other people. We have this 11
Yeah.
And then, it's more like, oh my God, am I really a judge? Oh my God, am I finally a partner? Oh my God, do I even fit in here? Yeah. We all have a first time, we're here to encourage you. That's what you said. I think I wrote it down.
Yes.
So I wanted to say that again because I thought it was very impactful.
Okay. Someone, it was asked to me what value the Asian Bar has on the community. And Asian Bar is one of many other organizations, but this is what the Asian Bar can do for you. It tries to elevate and create events so that you don't feel alone in the practice of law. When you practice, it's a very solitary experience. When you're a law student, how do you read socially? You study, and then you take your test. And when you're working, you're billing those hours. You can't bill for having 5 or 10 associates, conferring. You have to do this on your own. That work is yours, and you have to name it to claim it. When someone's on the bench, they are the only ones in the courtroom that's making the decisions that day. So for Asian community, those in the legal practice here, what Asian Bar can offer is that you're not alone in doing what you do. There are many others that are the first times. Everyone has a first time at some point, and it just happens. A lot of Asians do too. So whether it's the first time, okay, I got this promotion, and now I am not assistant general counsel. I am general counsel. You know, oh, okay, I am named partner, managing partner. Fantastic. You can do it. Asian Bar says you can do it.